what has been the most stressful thing in this transitional time for you? Like, what's going on for you that's causing you the most stress? And you guys can, I don't know how you want to do this because we have 7 of you. You can like just raise your hand and unmute yourself and pop in popcorn style. I see Clarice unmuted herself.
Yeah, I can start. I told Julie this a few times, but for me, the most stressful thing was more towards the beginning. I'm already pretty like hypochondriac, germophobia, so I was taking it very seriously from the beginning. And I think the hardest thing was seeing people my age, whether they be friends or friends of friends, just not taking it seriously and being, just kind of like, this doesn't affect me, so I'm just going to go have spring break at Miami Beach and things like that. And that was just both stressful and frustrating and awkward to try to have those conversations with people because you're kind of like, we're the same age. Is this my place to say something?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it overstepping? Will they feel like I'm trying to be this annoying parent figure when we're peers? So that for me was the most stressful, but luckily I had a really good group of friends that felt the same way and we kind of just commiserated together. And then now I think it's like, if you're not taking it seriously now when things are this bad, I don't know what you're reading or I would just take it seriously now, but I think people are, which is good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this whole idea of how everyone in the world is relating to this in terms of seriousness or not, I think has been a big topic all around adults, young adults. And I see it popping up even just in our small family system, right? Like we have this family system here at home, but I have a network of nieces and nephews that live real close by who are basically living with us pretty much on a regular basis. And we're not allowing them to come here. So it's been a source of stress for us as a tight family unit, extended family unit, and navigating everyone's feelings around that, hurt feelings, feelings of righteousness, feelings of loneliness, right? Our feelings of feeling bad. So that's a big conversation. Thanks for raising that, Clarice. Who else?
I can go next.
Yeah, Ashwa.
For me, the most stressful thing right now is not being home. It's just weird, like knowing that my parents are in another country and I'm here and I can't even go home because like India has blocked OCIs and visas. So it's just like really stressful knowing that I cannot go home even if I wanted to. And then also like just like being alone in the country without like direct family. Like I do have like relatives, but I don't have my parents here. And so that's just like, if I get the coronavirus, I don't know how I'll figure out like health insurance, all of that stuff. And so that's just generally stressful.
Yeah. Holy cow. Thank you. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the health insurance issues and whatnot, but being away from immediate family, I can't imagine what that was like. Thank you. And I remember, Ashwat, when this idea that you can't actually go back, like you don't even have the option to.
Right.
So how disempowering that feels.
Right.
It's really, really important. Thank you. What else? Sky. You have to unmute yourself.
I'll kind of piggyback off him because I was kind of in the opposite situation. So I was in Australia and the stressful thing for me was I really didn't want to come back. I had settled there. I'd been there for 5 months already, and it was just seemed like the end of the world to come back because the most stressful thing for me now is like, what is my future now? Like, what is my plan? I have to rewrite my whole plan because my plan was to travel for 2 years. And like, obviously I can't picture my future with that right now, but I'm happy me and my family made the decision kind of to come back when I did, or else I would have. It was more of their decision, not mine. But I'm happy I came back when I did because I was going to possibly be in that situation where I couldn't come back, didn't know how the health insurance was going to work if I did get it. The job situation, like I worked in tourism, that's shot. So I'm happy I came back when I did. And I'm actually so thankful and I have so much gratitude that I'm here right now with my family. But I don't know what I'm doing with my life now. So.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one thing before we continue on with the question?
Yeah.
It's not an ask, it's an interruption. I'm sorry, but I am, for those of you who are watching and not panelists, I encourage you to watch this in what's called gallery view, which is the top right. You can toggle in the top right between speaker view and gallery view. If you could see the 9 of us in one box, Hollywood Square style, Brady Bunch style, for people who are of a certain generation, what you're gonna see is, the reason I'm pointing this out, what just happened, Sky said it was my decision to come home, kind of. And immediately you could see a reaction, because we knew what she meant was, well, my parents kind of made this decision for me. And I want you to see the facial dynamics of reactions that are happening. So I really encourage you to watch in gallery view to see everyone at once. I think that'll be the best way to kind of participate in this. Okay, back to you.
That's a great idea. Anyone else? Biggest stress since this all has occurred? Alex?
Kind of in the same vein as Sky, I'm a first year student now at NYU, and I had just been getting settled into, living on my own for the first time and living in a city and just being away from my parents. And then I guess the speed at which this all unfolded just felt very sudden. And so that caused me a lot of stress at the beginning of this whole situation. And now I'm more concerned with how I'm going to be able to keep in touch and really sustain the friendships that I have already started to make over the past few months. And, just are they strong enough? Like, do I have good, skills am I good at keeping in touch, so that when we return in the fall, we'll be able to just pick up from where we left off.
Yeah. Ashwat and I talked about this, and Alex, you and I talked about this, this idea of these friendships that just started to form, how important they are. And shame on me for not really seeing this, but how much you all value being in person together. And there's a way in which I think Gen Z and millennials are perceived, or at least my perspective is, they're all online all the time. They don't know how to socialize. They don't know how to be together. They're addicted to their phones. And everything I'm hearing repeatedly is how much you guys are missing that human contact. And that was just eye-opening for me. And so I was really appreciating that. And really interesting to raise this point, Alex, about how do I maintain, are these friendships rooted enough such that we can continue to grow together in, because it's different when we're on social media connecting, right? We're hopping on and trying to be intentional on FaceTime versus popping in and out of class together, grabbing lunch together, going out to dinner, having experiences together. There's a real loss there. Yeah. Thank you. Shina.
I think another part of all of this happening specifically for young people that are especially in college was realizing the amount of privilege and the gratitude that a lot of people have for being in their specific spaces. I know, coming from like a first-gen background, when Penn announced that they were gonna basically kick a lot of people off campus, there was a lot of housing insecurity. People don't have access to food meal plans. People don't have access to Wi-Fi, and all that stress is accentuated further when you might be in an unstable family situation, right? So I think it's also been a lot of time that COVID-19 is like a reset for us. It's a cultural reset, it's an economic reset, it's a spiritual reset, but in a lot of ways, it's also a time for you to have a mindset reset, because I know a lot of friends and people that are still struggling, and a lot of schools have announced that they'll extend their pass-fail deadline, or most recently, there was a lot of student grassroots organizing to get Yale to apply like a universal pass policy, and that was only after students for weeks on end have been emailing and petitioning for that to happen. And now at Penn, our pass-fail deadline is on Monday. It's the earliest out of all the other peer institutions. So for me, that might be an extreme stressor, or I know that, maybe my brother will make noise in the background of a call, but I still have access to Wi-Fi. And that within itself is such a privilege. So I think understanding the different almost inequities at the same time is something that I'm grappling a lot with too, because I'm privileged enough to have access to these resources, but a lot of people don't. So how do we deal with that inherently within itself?
Thank you for bringing that. That's such an important bonus, I think, of what's going on. So I don't know about you all, and I don't know about you, Julie. I think we've talked a little bit about this, but I keep looking for the bonus gifts of coronavirus. Like, how is this here for me and for my learning? And I have been learning so much about myself, about my privilege, about the world I live in, about the world others live in ways that I haven't necessarily been acutely attuned to. So Shaina, as you raise those, I appreciate, you raising everyone else's awareness around these, really obvious inequities. And yeah, it's just really important. And Julie, you were touching on it, I think on your last webinar, and you and I've touched on it in a few conversations. And I know it's an important issue for you too.
Absolutely. I mean, even just saying thank you for raising it implies that most people don't know it. I know that's not what you mean, but right, to Shina's point, it's all about, we all have our set point of what is the norm. If you're struggling with health insurance, if you're struggling with food insecurity and so on, that is your norm. It's not new because of COVID. It's exacerbated because of COVID. Whereas many of us are becoming really aware of privileges we might not have even realized we had. The privilege of not having to worry about one's health insurance in this moment is an enormous privilege. So I really do appreciate your raising. Both Shaina and Ashwath, I think, have kind of pointed out those things so far as aspects of the stress that they're experiencing. Yeah,
I'm noticing just to have my basic needs met, so I don't have to worry about my basic needs. Like we've all of us sitting here have our basic needs met and have the luxury of being able to have this conversation. And so taking a moment to just sink into that, right? There's so much uncertain going on in the world right now, but we can all be certain that we're fed, we're clothed, we're Ashwath, even if we're not home with our family, we have a roof over our heads. So one of the things I was listening to a podcast today with Dan Harris and Sylvia Bornstein, who's a wonderful meditation teacher. And she is really delightful. She's about 80 years old and she giggles a lot and she just bubbles with joy. And they were talking about the importance of joy and how even in these times, it's important for us to pay attention to the good and how important it is for us to, while it's very stressful, we have to make space for that which we're grateful for, the good in our life, and balance out the stress in our life. So every night I lead the family in a meditation, which everyone just loves. And a moment of like, okay, look for the gratitude. Where's the gratitude? And I open my eyes a lot and see people rolling their eyes at me and stuff, but they're going to get it one of these days. But Shaina, I think it's really important that we are focused on the utter privilege that we have. And then at the same time, looking around like, how can we help? How is it we can be of service to others with our privilege? So thank you. Who else? Biggest stress occurring as a result of this right now? Robert.
First of all, really quickly, I just want to apologize to everybody. Took me a little while to get settled. Sometimes the internet is flying, and sometimes you kind of find the hot zone. Also, I want to say thank you to Shaina for raising that point, because something I've struggled with is, I think a lot of things in life, if not everything, is relative and relative to you and your situation. And when we're all brought together and kind of stuck together, those issues that we deal with individually and we deal with household to household are really exposed, and they're exponentially bigger than they would be usually because we don't have any exposure to the people outside. So I just want to say that opened my eyes and that helped me think and reflect on myself and my situation and the privileges that I have. Stress-wise, I think most of my stresses have been, I want to say socially, but also kind of socially between my parents. My parents are separated. And obviously I'm with my mom at my mom's house, and we're in quarantine. We're not supposed to leave. So how am I supposed to see my dad? And how are my sisters and I supposed to see my dad? And, that's really frustrating for.
And we lost him again. Yikes, we got a bitter internet here.
To go there and when it's appropriate for us to leave and not. That's been what kind of I've been struggling with.
Say that last piece, Robert. We lost you. You said it was talking about when to leave to go. dad, is that it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is it breaking up again? I
It's
don't
okay.
know
It's
why
fine
that-
now. It's fine now.
Yeah, I don't know why that keeps happening with the internet. Yeah, balancing my time, my sisters and I, between my mom and my dad. It's always a struggle, but it's become even more so. And for me, I'm 21. I also want to have independent time. And that's really hard to kind of add in there.
Yep. Thanks.